Welcome back, everyone. As you can probably tell from the title of this video, this one's gonna be a banger. I know, beautiful alliteration, but how the hell did we get here, folks? 6 months ago, the future of Halo actually had a glimmer of hope, a light at the end of the Ninja Spartan tunnel. But now it's 2022. Infinite's essentially dead. The show is just god-awful, totally misses the point. And 343 Studios is so off base, their concern seems to be hawking licensed product in a desperate bid to make back some of the 500 million! Fun fact, right now people are estimating that the budget for Elden Ring was anywhere between 50 to 100 million. You know, the product that has absolutely taken the gaming world by storm, attracted creators from all genres, even those outside of gaming, and solidified itself as the ultimate culmination of FromSoft's style and expertise? Yeah, apparently that game cost 1/5 of the shell that 343 Studios has slowly, glacially been updating into a feature-complete game. Hell, it's taken them so long to get certain features in, they actually ended up delaying Season 2 by months. Months! Remember when Big Team Battle was broken at launch? Like, queues literally would not work. But rather than 343 fixing their game, they took a month-long extended vacation, while that game mode, the one meant to attract and maintain casual and curious players, instead bled customers, since it was a highly visible example of 343 Studios' laziness and incompetence. I mean, just look at the player numbers from release until now, and tell me 343 was trying to put their best foot forward. Nothing says we care about a product like releasing a broken game and then immediately flying to the Bahamas for the winter. They spent so much money on the damn game, they can't even afford to turn the heaters on in the Microsoft warehouse, I guess. But here's the thing. Even when they do end up releasing Season 2, the game still won't be feature complete, since Forge still isn't in the game, and neither is Co-op Campaign. Forge not being in yet is one problem. This is a mode that has been considered fundamental since Halo 3, and trying to run a live service game without a proper creative suite, or even a proper update schedule for that matter, is a recipe for disaster. Ah, the beautiful hubris of a 343 executive. What a life it must be to get to fail upward while coasting entirely off an idea made by people infinitely more competent than you. But lack of Forge isn't even the biggest concern. My real concern is the lack of co-op campaign. Considering that the campaign is an open world, the question of how to properly apply co-op to a non-linear setting immediately becomes apparent. And I honestly don't believe the developers playing maintenance have the talent or time management skills to ever deliver this feature. And even if they do, who's going to be paying attention to Halo Infinite at that point? Season 2 was originally supposed to come out in March and have co-op alongside. But now Season 2 isn't releasing until May, and co-op has a vague promise of releasing during that season. But looking at 343's track record, why would you believe them? By the way, Season 2 is called Lone Wolves, as in a pack of singular wolves. I swear 343 is just memeing on us at this point. Just want to make a quick shout out to all the people who didn't want a battle royale, got millions of views talking the idea of a battle royale down, and now make videos about how to save Halo. Maybe having a battle royale wasn't the best answer, but you know what having a battle royale does to a player base and the developer? It creates a sense of accountability, where developers are expected to maintain a regular update schedule to keep the player base engaged. Traditional arena game modes have this air of set it and forget it, which, let's be real, they mostly are, outside of custom settings. 343 is in a bad situation, where they have no accountability and no one has expectations for them. Now there was this announcement of the Last Man Standing mode, which some think is a battle royale, but given some of the voice lines, others think it might be an infection mode. An infection mode may be good for the couple thousand people booting this game up on the regular, but I don't think it's going to bring back a large player base. 343 simply lacks the talent to match their vision, so everything they do underdelivers, underperforms, or barely performs, if we're talking about Halo Infinite's server performance. For what it's worth, I think Infinite has a fantastic core of mechanics that give it a large skill range, something necessary for a game's long-term survival. But when the game itself runs less than optimal, and the developers can't seem to handle their own management schedule, what chance did this game really have to begin with? Man, as bad as the game is doing, it's nothing compared to the special brand of brain manure that is the Paramount Plus show. You know how the games are about Master Chief taking the fight to the Covenant, inspiring his fellow Marines and the imaginations of young children? Well, now it's about Master Chief's existential depression, his struggles against indoctrination, and his inability to keep his clothes on. That saucy little deviant, oh my. Now, I knew when the mask came off in the first episode it was all downhill, but by episode 3 he's literally having casual conversation, while wearing clothing ripped straight from Mass Effect, standing in sets that were no doubt recycled from the ball-meltingly bad modern Star Trek shows. But Master Chief isn't the only one in this show with a nudity problem. In the second episode, Master Chief is younger and considering going AWOL with another Spartan, who despite deserting the military, a crime that would get them shot, is wearing his armor without a helmet. Chief, of course, has a change of heart being indoctrinated and all, and threatens to shoot him, because the Chief, UNSC, your Spartans, all bad guys. But revolutionaries, traitors, those are your heroes in your Halo show. John S. Halo, the strong archetype who beats alien ass, loves 2D women, and doesn't afraid of nothing, that's long gone. Master Chief has been broken, demoralized, emasculated, robbed of agency, and for all intents and purposes, become a whiny, emotionally unstable bitch. After much mental deliberation, Master Chief decides to let his friend go. But when his friend walks away, we see that he's not even carrying his helmet. The armor, once considered the most iconic parts of the Halo franchise, is simply unimportant to this show. John Halo and the Wellwall are besties, and what should be an easily adaptable story about good versus evil, man battling an existential alien threat and putting aside differences for a common good, is now a murky examination of John Halo's emotional traumas, the military's overreach of power, the plight of revolutionaries, government bureaucracy, and generally depressing moral quandaries that have nothing to do with Halo, or getting to a Halo, or stopping a Halo, or sharing a nice brunch with your fellow Marines. In fact, most people in this show are terrified of the Spartans, not inspired. The most sinister part of these productions is that they always position themselves as prequels. In the case of this show, Reach has not fallen. Cortana has just been created, and the Covenant have only been attacking the rim of UNSC space. But as prequels, they only serve to subvert the core tenets of their original works. Everything from character origin, to the looks and personalities, even going as far as to violate fundamental rules such as keep your fucking faceless super soldier's helmet on. Anyway, John Spartan's AWOL friend ends up leading a communist utopia out in space on some asteroid. No rules, no government. Just like him and John always talked about, he says. The show is a shameless blending of various successful sci-fi franchises, such as Mass Effect, The Expanse, and even New Trek to an extent. But what it forgets is how to be Halo. Like how for some reason Commander Keyes is the biggest advocate for subduing the Master Chief with violence. Literally take a character and change everything about them. Size, color, dress, personality, relationships. It doesn't matter, as long as he's wearing the same name tag. Cortana is no longer a weapon enhancement system, but a control system, meant to wipe the Master Chief's mind and control him. I'm not even going to talk about the creepy scientist guy. What the fuck even is this character? Halsey is also evil as well, but in a more Machiavellian style. She is about control, while Keyes is about force. Another thing I hate about this show is how humans are always portrayed as so dirty and violent, to the point where we actually end up on a literal trash sorting planet. And not only are the humans so dirty that we end up on a trash planet, they're so cruel to each other in this show that even in the middle of a Covenant invasion, you have a security guard beating a kid to death and then tasing another kid. The anti-police, anti-authority sentiment is comically thick in this show, to the point we have the Covenant looking like the good guys for saving a little girl from police brutality. This goes even further once Master Chief returns to the UNSC. With the artifact now in the hands of the military, they begin contemplating how to weaponize it, exactly like the Covenant.
What? You're just ruining it. Look at my lips, you're ruining it.
Whereas in the games, the UNSC had no clue about Halo, and this made the Covenant the clear antagonist, since they had a doomsday weapon in their possession. In the show, there is no real hero. Everyone is so busy trying to betray, manipulate, or brainwash each other in this show, that the Covenant actually come out looking like a more viable option. Speaking of brainwashing, Halsey is literally a mad scientist at this point, having arguments with her morally superior clone and tricking Master Chief into accepting Cortana without telling him what she actually is. Every part of this show has to be subversive. They even do the eye needle torture gimmick. And I mean, would it even be a Paramount show if someone isn't getting stabbed directly in the iris? Chief goes to rendezvous with Silver Team, and Cortana makes herself known. And Chief just starts losing control of his emotions. Yelling, spitting, seething, doing the jitterbug. He's not taking well to Cortana. Until he starts trying to find his family. Because we all know that Halo, that shit's about family. And man-ass. Ah, man-ass. When I think of John Halo, I think about picnics with my family on a distant planet. And man-ass. Lots and lots of man-ass. However, the reason behind the man-ass is a lot more sinister. With the assistance of Cortana, Master Chief actually removes his emotional inhibitor. So expect to see a future of the Master Chief crying, screaming, and just having nervous breakdowns all over the place. There will probably even be a scene where the Master Chief has PTSD right in the middle of a battle with the Covenant, and Cortana's gonna have to take the reins. Girl power, woo! Any hope we may have had for Master Chief to be a traditional badass, his regular laconic archetype, more or less died with this scene.
Is this why you've removed your pellet? So you could hear things differently?
Maybe I just wanted to hear it like everyone else.
But Chief isn't supposed to be like everyone else. He isn't supposed to let emotion overcome him and double fist artifacts in a fit of mania. In another franchise, maybe. But this show's just someone's project that they couldn't get produced, wearing Halo's skin. Ever heard of skinwalkers? Well, how about Spartan walkers? Because at its core, that's really what this show is. The show introduces a plot about how the Master Chief had a piece of the artifact as a child. Halsey is manipulating the whole thing in real time. Half of the show is Quan's boring revolution that no one cares about. There's a whole political subplot about rare minerals. Oh yeah, I forgot. They lifted the whole spice thematic element straight from Dune into this show. And probably the biggest failure of all of this is how the show has portrayed the UNSC and humans in general as the bad guys, while the Covenant are a mere background character whose evils are vague. And in fact, they've even been heroic when they saved the human prophet from the trash planet. And that's just 2 episodes of this show. I know this has kind of turned into a series review video, but there is one more topic I'd like to briefly discuss before I close this out. While the Halo game has been festering in disrepair, and the show has been busy subverting all of our expectations, what do you think Microsoft and 343 Studios have been busy doing? Licensing the franchise out, of course! In particular, I want to focus on the Halo cookbook. It promises to take you from Master Chief to Master Chef. But at least from my half-assed research of the contents, there wasn't a single page on how to prepare hot Cheeto Mountain Dew soup. Not one recipe for biscuits and gravemind, flood frittatas, arbiter a la mode. I remember playing the Halo cooking minigame for hours on end, preparing all of my favorite dishes. As I'm sure you did as well. Halo the game is in a bad state, but it's like 343 Studios and Microsoft believe that by having more product on the shelves, maybe they can distract from the core issue. But really, it just makes the whole franchise look out of touch. It makes 343 look incompetent. And it just disappoints the fans who grew up with Halo, built friendships, and had unforgettable times with those little goofball dildo Spartans. We knew Halo would be different when Bungie left the building, but I never imagined Halo would lose so much of what once made it great.
It's in your eyes!
What do you mean?
You don't understand what you are, do you? What am I? The image of ready produce the rain. That's what they want.
And that is the shockingly sad state of the Halo franchise. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Help me make this channel bigger. I'm trying to do a video similar to this once every week. Anyway, have a great rest of your night, day, any time of day. Peace and love.
With multiple threads to the same
You're
destination.
ruining it.
How are you not in fucking school? You shut up when I'm talking to you! You shut your mouth!